need to wake parishioners up early. But on Sunday morning, early, my family was at St. Andrew Presbyterian Church listening to Pastor McClellan, who was old enough to have known Moses. This meant that out of the whole weekend there was only Sunday afternoon left over for full baseball teams. This hadn't been too much of a disaster up until now. But last summer, Ben Cummings moved to Connecticut so his father could work in Groton, and Ian McAllister moved to Biloxi so his father could be a chaplain at the base there instead of the pastor at St. Andrews. Which is why we ended up with Pastor McClellan, who could have called Isaiah a personal friend too. So, being a Presbyterian was now a disaster. Especially on Wednesday afternoons, when at 1:45 sharp, half of my class went to Hebrew school at Temple Bethel, and at 1:55 the other half went to catechism at St. Adalbert's. This left behind just the Presbyterians, of which there had been 3, and now there was 1. Me. I think Mrs. Baker suspected this when she came to my name on the class roll. Her voice got kind of crackly, like there was a secret code in the static underneath it. Holling Hoodhood, she said. Here? I raised my hand. Hoodhood. Yes? Mrs. Baker sat on the edge of her desk. This should have sent me some kind of message since teachers aren't supposed to sit on the edge of their desks on the first day of classes. There's a rule about that. Hoodhood, she said quietly. She thought for a moment. Does your family attend Temple Bethel? She said. I shook my head. St. Adalbert's, then? She asked this kind of hopefully. I shook my head again. So on Wednesday afternoon you attend neither Hebrew school nor catechism? I nodded. You are here with me. I guess, I said. Mrs. Baker looked hard at me. I think she rolled her eyes. Since the mutilation of guess into an intransitive verb is a crime against the language, perhaps you might wish a full sentence to avoid prosecution. Something such as, I guess that Wednesday afternoons will be busy after all. That's when I knew that she hated me. This look came over her face like the sun had winked out and was not going to shine again until next June. And probably that's the same look that came over my face, since I felt the way you feel just before you throw up. Cold and sweaty at the same time, and your stomach's doing things that stomachs aren't supposed to do, and you're really wishing, that the ham and cheese and broccoli omelet that your mother made for you for the first day of school had been Cheerios like you really wanted because they come up a whole lot easier and not yellow. If Mrs. Baker was feeling like she was going to throw up too, she didn't show it. She looked down at the class roll. Mai Ti Huang? She called. She looked up to find Mai Ti's raised hand and nodded. But before she looked down, Mrs. Baker looked at me again, and this time her eyes really did roll. Then she looked down again at her list. Daniel Hopfer, she called, and she looked up to find Danny's raised hand, and then she turned to look at me again. Marilee Kowalski, she called. She found Marilee's hand and looked at me again. She did this every time she looked up to find somebody's hand. She was watching me because she hated my guts. I walked back to the perfect house slowly that afternoon. I could always tell when I got there without looking up because the sidewalk changed. Suddenly, all the cement squares were perfectly white, and none of them had a single crack. Not one. This was also true of the cement squares of the walkway leading up to the perfect house, which were bordered by perfectly matching azalea bushes all the same height, alternating between pink and white blossoms. The cement squares and azaleas stopped at the perfect stoop, 3 steps like every other stoop on the block, and then you're up to the 2-story colonial, with 2 windows on each side and 2 dormers on the second floor. It was like every other house on the block, except neater, because my father had it painted perfectly white every other year, except for the fake aluminum shutters, which were black, and the aluminum screen door, which gleamed dully and never, ever squeaked when you opened it. Inside, I dropped my books on the stairs. Mom! I called. I thought about getting something to eat. A Twinkie, maybe. Then chocolate milk that had more chocolate than milk, and then another Twinkie. After all that sugar,